The fluorescent lights hummed overhead like dying insects as Marcus wiped his weathered hands on a threadbare rag, the same rag he'd carried for 15 years through the corridors of Pinnacle Industries. At 62, his back ached from decades of mopping floors and emptying trash cans, but his eyes still held the spark of a man who once dreamed of building rockets. Tonight, that spark would ignite into something extraordinary. "You're still here, Marcus." The voice belonged to James Chen, the night security guard who'd become something of a friend over the years. Marcus looked up from the industrial-grade vacuum he'd been wrestling with, its motor sputtering like an old man's cough. "This thing's acting up again," Marcus said, giving the machine a gentle pat. "Can't leave it broken for the morning crew." James shook his head with a smile. "You know, most people would just slap an out of order sign on it and call it a day. But Marcus wasn't most people. He'd learned long ago that broken things deserved a second chance, whether they were vacuum cleaners or dreams deferred. The next morning brought chaos to the executive floor. Victoria Sterling, Pinnacle Industries' 38-year-old CEO, stood in her corner office surrounded by engineers, all of them looking as defeated as soldiers after a lost battle. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city stretched out below them, but all Victoria could see was the looming deadline that threatened to destroy everything she'd built. "Ma'am, we've run every diagnostic possible," stammered Drive. Peterson, the lead engineer whose PhD from MIT seemed worthless in this moment. "The prototype engine simply won't respond to our modifications. The quantum displacement chamber keeps overheating, and we can't figure out why." Victoria's perfectly manicured fingers drummed against the mahogany desk. 3 years and $47 million had gone into developing this revolutionary engine that could change everything: clean energy, space travel, the future itself. But in 6 hours, the military contractors would arrive for the final demonstration, and if they couldn't deliver, Pinnacle Industries would face bankruptcy. "What about the backup systems?" Victoria asked, though she already knew the answer from the expressions on their faces. "All showing the same thermal signatures," replied Drive. Martinez, mopping her brow with a tissue. "It's like the engine is fighting against itself." Victoria stood abruptly, her heels clicking against the marble floor as she paced. "Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't claw my way up from a trailer park in Alabama to watch this company die because we can't fix one engine." Her voice carried the steel that had earned her a reputation as one of the most ruthless executives in the industry. "I don't care if we have to tear this building apart brick by brick, someone is going to solve this problem." As if summoned by her frustration, Marcus appeared in the doorway with his cleaning cart, having arrived early to tackle the coffee stains from yesterday's emergency meetings. The room fell silent as 8 of the country's brightest minds turned to stare at the janitor in his faded uniform. "Oh, perfect timing," Victoria said, her voice dripping with sarcasm born from desperation. "Maybe our custodial staff has some insights our engineers missed." A few nervous chuckles rippled through the room. Marcus paused, his hand still on the cart handle. Through the open door leading to the testing lab, he could see the massive prototype engine, its chrome surface reflecting the morning light like a metallic sculpture. But Marcus saw something else: the slight vibration in the mounting brackets, the way the coolant lines curved at an impossible angle, the thermal readings displaying on monitors that reminded him of patterns he'd studied decades ago. "Actually," Marcus said quietly, "may I take a look?" The room erupted in uncomfortable laughter. "Dr. Peterson actually snorted. With all due respect, sir, this is quantum-level engineering. We're dealing with molecular displacement and thermal dynamics that require years of specialized training to understand." But Victoria, desperate and with nothing left to lose, found herself intrigued by the janitor's calm confidence. "You know what?" she announced, loud enough to silence the room. "Fix this engine and I'll marry you." More laughter followed, but Victoria raised her hand. "I'm serious. If our janitor can solve what 8 MIT graduates can't, he deserves whatever he wants." Marcus stepped forward, ignoring the whispers and sideways glances. He'd spent 43 years hiding who he really was, but sometimes the universe demanded honesty, even when it hurt. "Before I started working here," Marcus said, his voice steady despite his racing heart, "I had a different life. Different name, too. Dr. Marcus Webb, NASA propulsion specialist. I worked on the ion drive systems for the Mars missions back in the 80s. The laughter died instantly. "Dr. Peterson's face went pale. That's impossible. Dr. Webb was. He was. Discredited. Marcus finished gently. Yes, after the accident that killed 3 astronauts because of my miscalculation. I lost everything. My career, my family, my name. I've been Marcus Thompson, janitor, ever since. He walked slowly toward the testing lab, his footsteps echoing in the suddenly silent corridor. But I never stopped learning. Every scientific journal left in trash cans, every technical manual thrown away, I read them all. 15 years of watching, listening, understanding. In the lab, Marcus approached the engine with the reverence of a penitent entering a cathedral. His trained eyes immediately spotted what the others had missed, a fundamental flaw in the quantum chamber's alignment that was causing a harmonic resonance, like a tuning fork vibrating at the wrong frequency. The problem isn't the thermal dynamics, he explained, his hands already moving to adjust the calibration systems. It's the resonance frequency. The quantum particles are creating interference patterns because the chamber is mounted 2.7 degrees off true center. Victoria watched in stunned silence as Marcus worked with the precision of a surgeon and the intuition of an artist. His weathered hands moved across controls worth millions of dollars as if he'd designed them himself. Dr. Martinez, Marcus called out, can you adjust the coolant flow to 847 milliliters per second while I recalibrate the displacement matrix? For a moment, nobody moved. Then Drive. Martinez, her scientific curiosity overriding her shock, rushed to comply. What happened next would be talked about in engineering circles for decades. As Marcus fine-tuned the quantum alignments, the engine's violent vibrations smoothed into a gentle hum. The thermal readings dropped from critical to optimal in minutes. The displays showed power output that exceeded every projection by 30%. My God, whispered Drive. Peterson, staring at readings he'd never dreamed possible. It's not just working, it's perfect. But Marcus wasn't finished. With the engine stabilized, he began implementing modifications that existed only in theoretical papers, adjustments that pushed the boundaries of what anyone thought possible. The quantum chamber sang with harmonic perfection, its energy output so clean and efficient that it seemed to mock every energy crisis humanity had ever faced. When the military contractors arrived 6 hours later, they witnessed a demonstration. That changed everything. The engine didn't just meet specifications, it shattered them, producing clean energy at a cost and efficiency that would revolutionize the world. As the contracts were signed and champagne was poured, Victoria found herself standing alone with Marcus in the testing lab, both of them watching the steady glow of humanity's future. You actually did it, she said softly. You saved the company, probably saved the planet. Marcus smiled, the weight of 43 years of guilt finally lifting from his shoulders. I didn't do it for the company. I did it because broken things deserve a second chance. Victoria looked at this extraordinary man who'd hidden his brilliance behind a janitor's uniform, who'd turned his greatest failure into wisdom, who'd chosen kindness over bitterness despite losing everything. Marcus, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, about that marriage proposal. He turned to face her, and for the first time in decades, Drive. Marcus Webb, rocket scientist, dreamer, and custodian of impossible things, allowed himself to hope. Victoria, he said with a smile that transformed his weathered face, I thought you'd never ask. The engine hummed softly behind them, a mechanical heartbeat for a new world, powered not just by quantum physics but by the immeasurable energy of second chances and the revolutionary power of recognizing the extraordinary in the ordinary. Sometimes the janitor really does know best.